Keith Myers here again. This is going to be part 4 of How to Box with Wing Chun. I have my training partner with me now, YT Chin, who actually has arms.
Arms.
Unlike Bob. And we're going to show you now some defenses from a boxing kind of structure that are specifically from Pin Sun Wing Chun. If you remember from my last clip, I feel that Pin Sun Wing Chun has some things that are a little closer to the old school boxing than most other Wing Chun systems have. First, another historical note. I wanted to show you the Fitzsimmons shift. Robert Fitzsimmons was the heavyweight champion right at the turn of the century. He fought in a lot of the old West towns. Wyatt Earp was actually the referee for several of his fights. And he was famous for the Fitzsimmons shift. Bob was a tall, lanky guy with long legs. So what he would do, the Fitzsimmons shift, he'd be squared off, and his opponent would throw a nice, deep, committed punch with his lead hand. Bob would parry, and he would step in like the side step we talked about, but he'd step all the way over here and right into the ribs. That, or he'd wait, and he'd parry, and he'd hit with an uppercut. Boom. Right there. But he stepped deep and past the guy. He knocked out a lot of people that way. So, Fitzsimmons shift, just for historical curiosity. Now, let's get to talking about some of these defenses. In Pin Sun, we have, rather than having the 3 standard forms like most Wing Chun, we have multiple solo sets, about 18. Each solo set is like a small chunk of one of the forms. Each solo set has a 2-man application, has an application on the dummy. Very modular in approach. Now, we use the pok daw drill that most people are familiar with. We're standing, he's punching, and I'm doing poks out. Almost every set has an application out of this pok daw drill. So we do this a lot. So it makes sense then, we've done that, we've burned that in, that one of your primary instinctive responses to any kind of encounter is going to be that poks out. Right? You throw something at me, I'm going to poks out, poks out, poks out. And notice I'm not talking about this kind of thing, right? Bobbing my head and smacking things out of the way. I'm doing a poks out where when I poks out, I'm taking the center, right? I may be moving my footwork, being invasive so I can sidestep and poks out, and I'm trying to get an angle on him rather than just stand right in front of him. So when he punches, I'm going to poks out and move. And that's going to be one of my main ways to kind of keep him away until I'm ready to do something. Now, one of our drills in Pin Sun, right out of our very first set that we learned, is if he's punching at me, I'm poks out, and then I'm going to poks out and hit. I pok and hit, pok and hit, pok and hit. We call it touch and go. Pok and hit, pok and hit. Now, I could just as easily done that and excluding cutting punch, right? And so you might ask, well, why would you do pok and go at this range if you could just go? And I wouldn't. But where this comes in handy is now we're in more of this boxing kind of range and format. When he punches and I'm on a poks out, I pok and go, right? I'm moving in. So from here, I'm not close enough to hit him. But if I'm moving in, I touch and go. Now I've nailed him. That's where that comes in handy, that poks out, touch and go. Bam. I've nailed him as I'm stepping in. That's where that comes in. So poks out should be your first response to anything. Just an instinctive, keep something out of your face. If I occupy center, then he can't. That's my poks out. Now, another natural one is the Hyun Sao. Hyun Sao comes right out of our very first set that we learned too. Our very first set is called Ju Choi. Punch, Hyun Sao, Ju, Han. Punch, Hyun Sao, Ju, Han. So that motion we can use. The elbow has to stay down. It's not this like some people do on their dummy. It's this, right? So if he's throwing a lead punch, right? He's coming, I let him come to the center. If I intercept, almost like I'm going to poks out, and then I flick it away. And it goes out. It doesn't come back. So it flicks away. If I do it right, it pulls him right into this punch. Bam. 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 I flick it away. And it should make him lurch forward if I do it right. Boom. 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 he could be throwing the rear hand, right? I could pock the lead, then he throws the rear hand. And it's right there. I flicks him away and it goes right back in, okay? So if I pop, bam, bam. Again, I'm not throwing my elbow out. It's just a flick that disrupts his balance, it breaks his structure, puts him right into my fist. That's just hood and style hit, hood and style hit, hood and style hit, hood and style hit. Now that I've got a partner, if we ever find ourselves in a mismatched lead, which is going to happen a lot. Remember I talked about a falling step in one of my videos to generate power, and I talked about the footwork kind of being heel to toe to make it more fluid, and so that falling step is always available. What it gives me in a mismatched stance is, anytime I step into an opponent, I've automatically got a foot trap here. So anything I'm doing, he's throwing a punch and I'm going to box out. I've got a foot trap, so then when I respond, he's got nowhere to go, right? Because he can't step. This happens by accident all the time. You can make it happen if you're consciously thinking about if he's, if we're faced off this way, and I consciously switch, and as I step in, I get my foot trap, and now I'm ready to work him, right? All I got to do is break his structure, get off balance, and then my next step, I'm on him, working him. And that's just using that heel to toe kind of dynamic to trap his foot, okay? So, we've got Pak Sao, we've got Hyun Sao. The next one is a Bu Sao. Bu Sao can be a big motion, or it can be a tight motion with the elbow down. This version of Bu Sao is like a Tan Sao with the palm down. My traditional Wing Chun friends do this, and they call it a Chun Sao, where it comes in this way to catch a line. The idea here is if he throws a punch that's not on the center line, so it doesn't make sense for me to Pak Sao, but it's coming around, then I want to catch it on this 45-degree line with my Bu Sao here. So as he swings, I catch it and I'm punching. Boom. 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 Now this also gives me the opportunity to do a little grappling to collect the arm that we talked about on the first video. So if I'm here, his arm is up, I'm in this relationship, all I got to do is shoot through and collect his arm this way. And now I can work him. I couldn't show it well on Bob before, but notice when I collect the arm, I'm doing grab the tricep and twist. This is what I want. I want to keep him off balance so I can work him. I don't want to let him keep his arm here because now we're in a clinch, we're in a struggle. So anytime I do this Bu Sao, I can shoot it through and collect his arm here. Turn it. Now I can work him. Boom, boom, boom. And remember what we said the other time? He's getting good at covering. So I've got him covering, and then I switch to this. And now I've got him again. Boom. I keep him off balance. I keep him controlled as much as possible. Now, so let's say he throws this one, I pock, and then a good boxer is just going to follow your momentum, and he's going to swing it around. So we go from pop to Bu Sao. Right? Pop, Bu Sao. Pop, Bu Sao. Pop, Bu Sao. Just right there. Notice this is on this line, this is on this line. If I go too tight, I'm going to get hit. I got to be on that 45-degree line straight up, and this is a solid structure. This is essentially the same thing as a Tan Sao. It's just palm down. Bam. I could do it with the other hand, right? I could be here. And I could either punch, and I'm not really in a range to hit him with my rear hand. If he swings a big loopy punch, I can't really hit him. So what I'm going to do is this. I stop this and I make sure that's not coming. Bam. Right? Bam. And then from there, then I start to work it, right? But I make sure I'm covered by catching this as well. And I just go to work. So that's Bu Sao. Now, modern boxers do a thing called the shoulder roll. So you can imagine if I got big fluffy gloves on, I'm standing in like this and he's throwing a tight shot. A shoulder roll is like this, right? Boom, I'm in tight. I've done a shoulder roll. I've deflected with the idea that I'm going to come right over the top. That's a modern boxer. The old school boxers didn't do that because they were extended. You know, there was no reason to have their hands back like this. But they did the equivalent that they called an elbow roll or an elbow parry, where something's crossing my line, they flicked it with the elbow. Flick it aside with the elbow. And of course the astute Wing Chun guys amongst you should be saying, well, heck, that's just a bong sao. And it is. So our boxing equivalent is just bong sao. That's the same as the old elbow roll from the old time boxers. Bong sao. Bong sao. Right? Bong sao. So I could be out here and I could just get an angle. Now, bong sao shouldn't be a primary technique. In other words, I'm not going to stand back here and think, I'm going to bong sao his next punch. I'm going to bong sao. Bong sao. I'm only going to bong sao when he makes me bong sao. My hands are out and something's coming in, cutting across that line where I have to bong sao. That's when I use the bong sao. Now, modern boxers do a high cover, right? Like this. They have a big fluffy glove on, so they can hide behind that glove and they're okay. Doesn't work if you don't have gloves, right? Right out of our second set we learned in Pin Sun Wing Chun, we have a motion called a sao sao. This, our Silam Tao set, is pak sao, sao sao, strike. Pak, sao sao, strike. Pak, sao sao, strike. Pak, sao sao, strike. Pak, sao sao, strike. This motion is interpreted as either an upward elbow strike or a high cover, right? And I have to have my arm all the way up because this is not good enough. I have to cover my head so the hand comes all the way up. When we use it, just like you saw me angled off on 45 degrees with the bu sao, I do the exact same thing with a sao sao. In other words, I don't do it like this. I'm still going to get slammed. I angle it. So if I'm here and he's throwing that, I catch it. And the idea is either I've got a good strong structure where he's just going to slide off and I got my arm capture, or boom, he runs right into the point of my elbow, which is bad news for him. So that's why it's got to come up quick. And it's on this 45-degree angle. Bam! And I'm hitting at the same time, right? So I could be moving in. Boom! And remember in our set, pak, sao sao, right into a palm strike. If he swung wide and I've caught him with this, my next motion is right there. And I've got him off balance, I've got him moving, and then I start working him. That's that motion. So I'm here, he throws a wide punch, I catch it, I'm right to here, and I start working him. Right out of our Pin Sun Wing Chun. We also have a low cover. This is out of the Dai Lim Tao set. One variation of the Dai Lim Tao set, we punch, gut bong, sao jung, strike. Punch, gut bong, sao jung, strike. Boom, 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 boom. So this motion is a low cover. Palm is open because it goes right to a strike. So a modern boxer covers this way because they're already bent over, so it makes sense. All they have to do is lower and catch it. We're like this, right? So we need to drop the arm to cover that angle, and we can punch right off of it. Now the advantage too is I drop my arm in my weight, and then as I release, it's like a cocked spring. Boom! The punch is an uppercut, springing straight up. So if I do it on Bob, because I can hit Bob harder than I can hit YT. I've done something, he swung wide, I cover, and then it's right back up again. Or this side, I cover, right back up again. So it's a nice, strong, rising punch. So now if I get YT back in here, I won't hit him as hard as Bob. So he swings wide and I've covered, and I'm coming right back with my punch. He swings that side, I cover and come right back with my punches. It's that quick. Just like drop my arm, cover, and come right back. Boom, boom, boom. Again, right out of our Pin Sun material. Now, the old school boxers, we talked about modern boxing covering with the glove. Old school boxers had a high cover. They did it like this. So if something was coming at my face, they caught it on the arm up here. like this. And I know you're saying, well, that's goofy. Why would they do that? The old school boxers had a punch they called the chopper. The reason they blocked this way is because they followed up with the chopper. The chopper was this big punch coming down like you're chopping wood. Bam! So they would be here, they'd throw their body back, block with this big covering motion, and then they do the chopper. They cover, chopper. Now, just so happens in Pin Sun, we have a punch called the Gua Choi, which is the exact same thing. A Gua Choi is the hanging punch. It's this downward punch. Remember on the last tape I talked about a Bu Choi, which came on a horizontal line as I opened my hips. The Gua Choi is similar on the vertical line, and I drop my weight. The idea is to contact on the bridge of the nose, a 45-degree angle going that way, so effectively I crushed his head down, and then I'm bouncing off his chest and coming right back. And we do this off of a Bong Sao. So if I've done Bong Sao, it's Gua Choi. So I'm hitting, and follow up, right? Bong Sao. So, we get YT back in here. We talked about that equivalent of an elbow roll is a Bong Sao. And so from there, we do it right to our Gua Choi. Boom. 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 So he'd be stepping into me and I just let him come, right? And it's right there. Bam. So you see the Bong Sao, remember our maxim, Bong Sao does not remain. That immediately is flowing right into that Gua Choi and all my follow-ups. And this comes right out of our lap da drill. So everybody's got the lap da drill, but we do it a little different than some of the Ip Man lineages. So I'm not going to do Bong Sao, grab, disengage, punch, straight. Boom, 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 boom. When we do lap da drill, we maintain contact with the forearm, and the lap sao is just a tap, and we come right over the top, and then he do the same, pop. So it's a 1 count. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's how we do our lap da drill. So you can see, translates right into this for a boxing structure. Bam! I'm either going to hit him here glancing off if that's my target, but what I'm really trying to do is hit him right on the bridge of the nose that way. And I'm following up until he's down and out. And that's the Bong Sao Gua Choi. Am I forgetting anything? I think I got it off. I think that covers it. So, that's my number 4 installment on basically how to box with Pin Sun Wing Chun.